Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Michael and Dale at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Large numbers of voters made it to the polls yesterday in states that started their early in-person voting. We have the details for you. President Donald Trump made a swing through North Carolina with just over 2 weeks until the election, as early voting is underway, and they, too, seeing record numbers of voters since their polls opened last week. New polling of 8 battleground states shows that Donald Trump is on the verge of completing a political comeback. His cynics and detractors say this was impossible after the 2020 election. Also, South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster and Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette will be in Greenwood today as another county day is scheduled to assist people in the area who were affected by Hurricane Helene. South Carolina Representative Daniel Gibson joins us with the details.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
As early voting starting in a number of critical states, election officials are reporting record numbers of voters taking advantage of the opportunity to cast their vote early. Yesterday, early in-person voting began in Alaska, Arkansas, Connecticut, Idaho, North Dakota, Texas, and, of course, my home state of South Carolina. WIS-TV 10 in Columbia asked early voters on why they're voting. Naomi Popa spoke with voters at several precincts as they were in line to vote yesterday.
Just off Main Street and Taylor, I set up ready to speak with voters on the first day of early voting. Many told me their focus is on the presidential race, while others argue local government is more important. One retired Marine tells me he's hoping for candidates who, quote, do what they promise.
Need a president that's going to say what they mean and mean what they say. In this economy, we should be helping people in our own country, helping our country become better and our people to accelerate in this life.
Others I spoke with say healthcare and education are top of mind. Others say immigration is the most important thing to them, calling on nationwide leaders for border control.
The biggest one to me is immigration, the border security. I want us to build a wall. It's a right of the citizen. I mean, this is part of being an American, is coming out and voting and having our voice.
And yes, she's right. It is part of being an American, is to take that right of ours to let our voices be heard, to go to the polls and to vote. And I got to tell you, I know I've been asking you, and I'll get to your text messages in a minute, but you have, I think, it convinced me to vote early. I've been asking you for your advice on this because I've always voted on election day. But many of you have emailed and texted on why I should vote early. I'm almost there. Just one little push, and you'd push me over to the edge. We'll talk about that in a minute. Turnout in the upstate was considered high on the first day. Spartanburg County GOP Chairman Curtis Smith joins us for a quick update of what he saw at the polls yesterday. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Joey.
So,
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am wonderful. All right, so give me a quick roundup. What did you see yesterday? And we're hearing in other states that we're having some huge turnouts. What did we see in Spartanburg County, and what do you project in South Carolina?
Spartanburg County had a large turnout yesterday. We had 6,405 people cast their votes early. We're expecting probably a third of the people who cast votes in this election to do it early. All 4 locations were manned and running, and the lines were long. Hopefully people have some patience. But we're open for the next 2 weeks, it looks like, except for Sunday. And it's a great feeling to see everybody there voting.
Yeah, and let's remind folks too that there are a couple of Saturdays. If your excuse is, well, I'm working during the week, we have 2 Saturdays where they can vote as well, right?
That is correct. From 8:30 to 6, It's plenty of time. Get in there to vote.
Yep. Let's talk for a minute about the 4 locations in Spartanburg. Can you tell us those locations?
Yes. Let's see here. It's the downtown location where you have to register for vote. That's there. And then we have 3 libraries. We have the library in Boiling Springs. We have the library in Woodruff. And we have the library at Middle Tiger. All of them, if you go to scvotes.gov, they'll have their addresses for each one of them.
Yep. So there's no excuse. One of those should be close to you if you live somewhere in Spartanburg County. Now, let's talk for a minute. And with me today, Curtis Smith, chairman of the Spartanburg County GOP. Talk with us about early voting and what you're hearing from people. You know, I got to tell you, I did a little experiment because you and I have talked about this before. I'm sort of traditional here. I like to vote on Election Day, but I kind of threw that out, and I've been asking listeners, well, should I vote early? And overwhelmingly, my listeners have convinced me that I need to vote early. What kind of feedback are you getting from people?
Everybody is listening to Mr. Trump, and they're all saying, bank your vote.
Yeah.
Get it in here. You never know what's going to happen on November the 5th. Slow you down. You know, something might happen, flat tires, it might rain. Get in there and get it done. Just make sure that your vote happens. And, you know, a lot of the times they say, well, the early voting, the opposition usually wins, and that we have to work very hard on Election Day. Let's win early voting. Let's have Republicans go in and vote early. Let's keep those lines down on Election Day. Let's have it. Bank our vote.
Yep. All right. Curtis Smith, always a pleasure. Appreciate your help, and I know you'll be out there working over the next 2 weeks as we continue
We're there every day.
Yep. All right. Appreciate your time.
All right.
Curtis Smith, chairman of the Spartanburg County Republican Party. Last week, voters in North Carolina and Georgia opened their polls, and Georgia has been shattering turnout records since their early voting began last Tuesday, just over a week now. One of the most pivotal battleground states in this 2024 election has now seen more than 1.4 million residents cast their ballots early. As of yesterday morning, the Georgia State Elections website showed 1,347,843 ballots that were cast in person so far, while just over 80,000 absentee ballots have been returned and accepted. The Georgia Secretary of State's office wrote on X yesterday. Today there is Sunday voting in several counties. This was actually on Sunday. And again, the voters have set another record. As of 2:30, over 25,000 Georgians had cast ballots today. The previous Sunday record was 24,000 back in 2022. Keep up the great work, counties and voters. The Sunday total wound up being over 42,000, which nearly doubled that 2022 tally. On the first day of early voting alone, Georgians cast more than 313,000 in-person ballots. That was 123% higher than the previous day one record, according to the Secretary of State's office. Total turnout so far accounts for nearly 20% of Georgia's population and active voters, while white voters made up the largest share of that total so far. Georgia women also slightly outnumbered men in the pre-election day tally by 55.4% to 45.4%. Georgia has been a key focal point, of course, in this White House battle between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. Both sides have poured enormous amounts of time and resources, spent a lot of money. Joe Biden won by less than 1% in 2020. Harris spent her 60th birthday in Atlanta over the weekend when she visited 2 churches alongside celebrity guest Stevie Wonder. Meanwhile, Trump will participate in a religious event himself in Georgia this week, according to WRBL. Looking a little north, up in North Carolina, we are also seeing large numbers of voters. Former President Donald Trump was in North Carolina, made a swing through the Asheville area with just the 2 weeks before Election Day. The state's 16 electoral votes could make a deciding factor in this close race. The Trump told rally goers in Greenville, North Carolina, if you want to end this disaster, you must get out and vote. We'll get rid of these stupid people. The former president talked about tariffs, manufacturing, stricter border policies, and criticism of the federal government's response to Hurricane Helene. For supporters in North Carolina, the cost of living, immigration, and foreign policy are the top issues, according to some of the polling data up there. So what does this mean? The high turnout that we're seeing so far, North Carolina, too, saw records. According to a number of different reports there, they saw a record first day of early voting despite its continued recovery from Hurricane Helene. Keep in mind, about 80 precincts in North Carolina were affected by the storm. Through Sunday, more than 13% of eligible voters in the state cast ballots, nearly as many Republicans, 341,000 as Democrats, 364,000, alongside nearly 320,000 who are considered unaffiliated. So again, what does this mean? When you see these high numbers and you have officials saying that this is just out of the ordinary, is it better for Republicans? Is this a good sign for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris? Love to get your comments. Up next, Representative Daniel Gibson from the McCormick-Greenwood area joins us to talk about County Day in Greenwood. For those of you who were affected by Hurricane Helene, this might be helpful. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. This year, I really thought I was going to have to boycott the holidays. I was going to lock myself away and not come out until 2025. But after finding PhD weight loss, you can bet I'll be at every holiday party I'm invited to. That's because PhD weight loss helped me take control with great confidence, support, and my new healthy body. The best part, PhD weight loss did it all without harmful drugs that keep you dependent on them to maintain your weight loss. It's a natural, medication-free approach to weight loss crafted to naturally diminish food-related thoughts, hunger, and cravings, making your weight loss journey more sustainable and enjoyable. Take it from me, I lost 33 pounds. The PhD weight loss program teaches you not just what to eat and when, but also how to think differently about food and finally let go of those cravings and get rid of the hunger naturally. Don't lock yourself away this holiday season. Call PhD Weight Loss today at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. Although it's been a few weeks now since Hurricane Helene blew through the Carolinas, we're all still in those early stages of the hard work of rebuilding. People all around the Carolinas are trying to get back to normal, and normal can be different depending on who you are and where you are. One thing that has been a challenge for some people is where to go for assistance. If you've been impacted by Hurricane Helene, state, federal officials, representatives from a lot of different nonprofits are joining together for Team South Carolina County Days to provide a one-stop opportunity to learn about relief resources. For those of you in the Greenwood area, today is that day. Team South Carolina County Day is happening today in Greenwood. On our guest line today, representing the 12th District in the South Carolina House of Representatives, which covers areas in McCormick, Greenwood counties, Representative Daniel Gibson. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Hey, good afternoon. How are you, Joey?
I am wonderful. I appreciate your time today. If you would, let's just start with, take a minute and give us an overview of the damage that you've seen in your areas, some of the challenges that you've seen from your constituents, and talk about the importance of what's happening in Greenwood this afternoon with County Days. Let's just start with an overview of what type of damage you had and what are some of the challenges.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about what we're going to be doing out here today.
Sure. Let's take a minute, talk about where you are today in relationship to where you were a few weeks ago right after the storm.
Oh, I believe it's like night and day. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, when the storm was first forecast to come into our area, I've been, I'm in my 60s. So I've been through a lot of storms, a lot of hurricanes, a lot of tornadoes. And I had no idea it was going to be as devastating as it is, and I don't think anyone did. So I went to bed thinking everything would be fine. They missed it. But my goodness, it tore McCormick and Greenwood counties, Abbeville, all the pieces. And the thing that really amazed me most, and I was over in McCormick for 3 days sitting with the Emergency Services Department over there and talking with the Sheriff's Department, the first thing that I recognized, other than the devastation, is how fast people were willing to get out. I mean, friends helping friends, neighbor helping neighbor, strangers helping each other out, just to get the roads cleared. And down here, I live in a rural area. I'm about 2 miles from beautiful downtown Bradley, and you couldn't sit around and wait on the police or forestry or somebody to get it cleared. So pretty much first thing I saw was just everybody getting out there working themselves to death just to get it opened up for everybody. And another thing that fascinated me was how quick everybody jumped in the boat with these EMD services to get things done. We lost cell service down in McCormick. People that had problems didn't have electricity, and if they had electricity, they couldn't communicate because of the cell problems down there. So it was an absolute mess down here for about 4 or 5 days. It was just awful.
Yep. Representative Daniel Gibson with me today. You said that you weren't expecting or weren't prepared necessarily for what we saw. Well, typically, when we think of hurricanes, we think about damages on the coast. We've never experienced anything like this in none of our lifetimes. And so for us to have the damage that we had so far inland, it was just totally out of the ordinary. Governor Henry McMaster and Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette has been hosting county days, and you're going to have representatives today in the Greenwood area from a lot of different agencies. For example, there'll be FEMA representatives there, but a lot of state organizations, Department of Insurance, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Environmental Services, the list goes on, the South Carolina Department of Agriculture, Department of Aging, the Housing Authority, a lot of different representatives in one place for people who just need help and have a question to ask. Talk with us about the importance of that, and tell us who should go today, where it's going to be, and what time.
It's going to be today at 10 o'clock, from 10 until 4 o'clock, and it's going to be at the Piedmont Technical College on the backside where they hold the graduations over at the James Medford Family Event Center from 10 until 4, and I'll be there all day long from 10 until 4. Also joining me will be the rest of the Greenwood delegations, Representative John McCravey and Senator Billy Garrett. And we're going to have Craig Gagnon from Abbeville is going to be there with us. And the things that I'm hearing from most people, especially in the beginning, they really just did not know who to reach out to. And we have a list, all the legislators have a list of state agencies. And I spent a lot of time, I didn't run a chainsaw, but I told people I can help you more on the telephone than I can out there cutting limbs.
Sure.
And we were able to reach out from those people to these government agencies and get an answers for a lot of them. One of the biggest ones that you mentioned was FEMA. We've had people that would get their money within 2 or 3 days on the spoilage, but we've had people been waiting 2 or 3 weeks. Now, I had a lady call me today that she's been waiting 2 weeks and hadn't heard anything, but they sent for her license, a photocopy of her license today. So they're moving her along. But there are over 24 agencies that's going to be represented today, Joey. And you mentioned some of them. A couple of them that I had marked also, and I definitely want to make people aware of, is something you may not think about, is South Carolina Department of Mental Health. This thing has been tough on everybody.
Yeah.
There's people who are in depression. There's people that are in despair. We've got people that don't have insurance, or if they do have insurance, they don't know where to start. So mental health of people of South Carolina is a very important issue. They're going to be there. There'll be some people there from SNAP. Even the Housing Authority is going to be there, provide information about rental properties that are available. And a couple of them I think you've already mentioned. I actually sit on the Agriculture Committee, so I'll talk about that because we have a lot of farmers in my area. So if you've been impacted with forestry or you've lost some crops, there's going to be representatives there from Department of Agriculture. And what I would suggest, if you've been affected by this storm in any way, I would just recommend coming out there and just let you know that the people of South Carolina and your representatives are here to help you. And we're willing to walk you through this process. I've actually helped people fill out their FEMA information that didn't do that well on the iPhones or on their computers. So John and Billy and Craig and I are more than happy to do anything we can. And let me go ahead and give you my phone number now. Is 864-396-0245. That's my personal cell if you're having trouble with any of these agencies. And a lot of times it's something as simple as us making a phone call. And it's not that they're not trying to get back to you. They're just so overwhelmed. And sometimes we can help prioritize your situation.
Yep. Representative Daniel Gibson, always a pleasure. Appreciate what you're doing. And again, if you have questions, if you were affected, be at Piedmont Technical College at the James Medford Family Event Center today, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's at 609 South Emerald Road in Greenwood. And Representative Gibson and John McCravey, Senator Garrett, there'll be a whole group of people there to welcome you and to try to walk you through this. Representative Gibson, always a pleasure. Thank you for your time today, and thanks for what you do.
All right. Thank you, Joey.
Sure thing. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. So I get back to my question about where we're headed. We're 2 weeks out from what is a huge election day for us. Now, I know we say that every year, and particularly every 4 years. But I don't know that we have ever seen our country in a situation like we are now. That if Kamala Harris is somehow able to win, the direction that she will solidify for our country is frightening. It is scary to think about. Because we think Joe Biden's bad, Kamala Harris will be a disaster times about 10. She will take us so far left that it will be hard for us to recover in my lifetime. So when you see the enthusiasm that we seem to be seeing in these early days of voting, what does that mean? And as we try to make sense of all of the polling numbers, for example, Nate Silver, the prominent elections analyst, he more often gets it right, said that former President Trump appears to be gaining momentum in the run-up to the election. And I kind of feel that. Do you feel that? There was that period of time that I felt good about this election year when it was going to be Joe Biden on the ticket again. Then, of course, we had the big shakeup, and Kamala Harris came in and stole the Democrat nomination away from Joe Biden, her boss, and made him seem to feel good about it somehow. Convinced him that he's doing the right thing for the country, which actually probably is. I don't want to see either one of them in the Oval Office. But Kamala Harris, she got that bump, not as much as traditionally a candidate does after their convention, but she did. And you could tell she started getting some of that momentum because, a lot of us, me included, didn't think she was going anywhere. So I have to say, I had to pause for a minute when I saw that people seemed to be coming around to support her. They weren't protesting the coup that she was able to pull off against Joe Biden. So now we're seeing that mood shift back. We're seeing, as Kamala Harris is more and more out on the campaign trail, as she's doing more TV interviews, and people are beginning to see just how goofy she really is, people are starting to swing back. Nate Silver, again, saying that Trump appears to be gaining the momentum, calling this latest data pretty negative for Kamala Harris. He gave his update of his forecast on Sunday. He said the data continues to be pretty negative for Kamala Harris. There are now 3 recent high-quality national polls that show Donald Trump leading, a difficult circumstance for Harris given Democrats' electoral college disadvantage. And her edge is in our national polling average is down to 1.7 points. National polls don't influence the model that much, and the race remains basically a toss-up, but it's not hard to think of reasons that Trump could win, he said. Silver referenced a recent Fox News poll that shows Trump ahead of Harris in the presidential contest 50% to 48%, marking a reversal from last month when Harris had a slight advantage. The tip tracking poll, also cited Silver by Silver, shows that Trump is overtaking Harris by a 2-point lead, 49% to 47%. And you can read, you can just Google poll, presidential poll, and you can get all kind of results. But what is encouraging is more and more of these polls that just a few weeks ago, just a month ago, had Kamala Harris with a slight edge, now seem the pendulum is swinging back. Silver's election forecast model still shows Harris with a very narrow lead nationally, with the vice president at 48.9% and Trump at 47.2%. But Trump, who last Sunday was ranked 46.5, so he moved up almost a percentage point in Silver's model, appears to be gaining that ground. Silver wrote on X, starting to see some Trump leads in high-quality national polls, which is certainly not a great sign for Harris. Very close race, though. He revealed his plans to vote for Harris himself last month, expressed a similar sentiment in his newsletter Sunday, which he entitled 24 Reasons That Trump Could Win. He wrote, Harris is the favorite to win the popular vote, but the Electoral College bias favors Republicans by 2 percentage points. In an era of intense partisanship and close elections, this is inherently difficult for Democrats to overcome. He also, of course, talks about some of the key issues that people continue to talk about. Inflation, higher prices under the Biden administration, knowing that Kamala Harris has been right there by Joe Biden's side. She has to take responsibility as well. And, of course, immigration. The diminishing trust in the media and Harris's past record on policy. Again, you look back at how far left she was in 2019 when she was running against Joe Biden. She went way left. Now she's trying to explain why she's changed her stance on so many of those issues. And the Americans aren't buying it. He wrote, Harris has been running on vibes and has failed to articulate a clear vision for the country. It might have been a good strategy if the fundamentals favored her, but they don't. Now, in other polling, again, as you see more and more of these polls starting to favor Donald Trump, you have to think there's something happening out there. Of the 8 battleground states, polls show that Trump is on the verge of completing what some are calling a political comeback. Some of his detractors, some of the people who thought that you'd never see Donald Trump win again after 2020. Now, Redfield and Wilton, they surveyed 8,533 likely voters. They show that Trump leads by 3 points in Arizona, 49-46. He's up by 4 points in Florida, 49-45. In Georgia, the former president leads 48-47. And again, record turnouts in Georgia so far, just in the about a week that they've been voting. Nevada shows another 1 point lead, 47-46, and it's 48-45 for Trump in North Carolina. Again, this is the Redfield and Wilton survey. That gets him to, according to Silver, gets him to 268 electoral votes, forcing Kamala Harris to win blue wall states, and she's not going to do it. I don't think she can run the blue wall states. She might pick up 1, maybe 2. I don't think she can win all 3. Harris just doesn't appear to be closing the deal. It's all anecdotal on my part. And all I'm doing is reading the same polls that you can read as well. But when they start adding up, when you get poll after poll after poll showing Trump either leading or closing the margin, you just have to, and my gut feeling as someone who's been around a while. According to the Redfield Wilton survey, they're tied in Michigan and Pennsylvania, while Harris is up 47-46 in Wisconsin, giving her 236 electoral votes, with 34 hanging in the balance in some of the tied states. Now, what looks good for Donald Trump is what the pollsters call the vote switchers, people who voted Joe Biden in 2020 but moved to Trump, and who voted Trump 2020 but now want Harris. They're driving what little bit of battleground movement she has. But Trump has this same idea benefiting him as well. For example, in Nevada, 16% of Biden 2020 voters are moving over to Trump, compared to only 7% of former Trump supporters flipping to the Democrat column. Trump's also up +6 with flippers in Florida and Michigan. Every other state shows the same momentum, but to a lesser degree. So you've got this movement starting to take place among independents and those who voted for Trump before and are saying they're going to stick with him. But more importantly, those who voted for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris expects them to come to her side, and they're not moving. They're not going in that direction. We've talked a lot recently about particularly the black and Latino votes. Males particularly seem to be falling in Trump's column. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Email's always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself, if you're looking for a new appliance, to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. On the text line, a texter says, took about an hour and a half to vote Monday afternoon. Long lines, but very organized. And I've gotten a lot of text and emails. I love to get them. So as you vote this week, those of you who are going to early vote, text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Let me know how it goes. Texter says, Joey, this is Kevin and Taylor's. I'm voting early because if I die before Election Day, at least they'll have to wait till next election to make me vote Democrat. Kevin has just about helped convince me that I need to vote early. Because, as the old saying goes, we're not promised tomorrow, so go ahead and bank that vote. Texter, took me 40 minutes to get through the line in Oconee, about 400 folks before 10 o'clock. Ray says, the lines in Oconee are tremendous. Have been here since 7 a.m. I voted early because at my age, I don't even buy green bananas. There's this theme about people dying here now. We're all going to live to see the victory. Email from Larry. Good morning, Joey. I'm with you. I love the feeling of going to vote on Election Day. It's a tradition that I always look forward to. But this year, I'm on the fence with the early voting for the simple fact that there's so much energy in my area, I'm afraid to see what the line's going to be like in November. Let me know what you think, and as always, I love starting my day with you. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate that. Well, Larry, I'm 99.8% right now sure that I'm probably going to vote early. I think you have convinced me of that. Tony writes, Joey, I used to be against early voting until I heard about Maricopa County Election Day disaster in 2020 of the voting machine. So now I'll be voting early. I believe Democrats will do anything to change election results. I tell you, we don't trust the Democrats very much, do we? But only because they've given us reason not to. Faye writes, Joey, some doctor says Kamala is mentally and physically able to be president. Well, I question this doctor's credentials. At the end of the day, Trump looks like it's 9 a.m. She looks like she's been dragged through the mud. Certainly doesn't look like Queen Elizabeth. Kamala has a, quote, problem of some kind. I think she's a heavy drinker. Watched college kids for 45 years, and she has that same look. I think Faye just called the vice president out on maybe drinking a little too much. I don't know. Texter, Joey, it's Jennifer. I'm like you. I'm a go to the polls and cast my ballot on election day kind of voter. I love the tradition. I've traveled hundreds of miles in past Novembers to go back home and vote with my dad and mom, but this is a different day, and I appreciate your conundrum about voting early. Whatever you decide, thank you for steadily rallying the troops to go vote. They say it every 4 years, but this year, 2024, it's the election of a lifetime. Vote Trump. You're so right, Jennifer. And I will. I'll let you know what I decide. I'm almost there. I'm going to make a decision within a day or so. Paul says, did you know of the sales tax increase proposal? Over $1 billion in taxes to be used on our roads and bridges. I've rejected each proposal made for increased taxes over the years. There's several, depending on where you live, there's several additional penny sales tax being proposed for different things, primarily for roads. Now, we've heard this argument before, haven't we? I mean, it wasn't too long ago. Remember when we had that, was it 6%? A 6% increase in the sales tax on, I guess maybe on fuel? And it was going to solve all of our road problems. We're going to have brand new roads all over the state. That's going to take care of it. Now what you have are these individual counties who are asking for another penny. And they're claiming the same thing. Hey, give us another penny sales tax and we'll solve all the road problems. Are you buying it? Do you really believe that it will solve our problems? I don't. Because we give them another penny, a year, 2, 3 years from now, they're going to be wanting another penny. Spend what you have a little more responsibly, and we can handle our road issues. Still, I'd love to get your feedback on those of you who have voted or plan to vote. Are you supporting? If your area is asking you to for another penny sales tax, are you going to support it? Texter, this is my buddy Dom in Illinois. Good morning, Joey. Just a quick comment about the imbecile flight attendant that removed the Marine veteran from her flight. I would bet $100, if I were a betting man, that Miss Power Trip stewardess is a Democrat. They seem to hate everything, including veterans. As a Marine myself, I commend that veteran for the way she handled the situation. It could have gotten very ugly. I also commend that Marine for her message. The suicide rate among U.S. service personnel of all branches is very high. It's high because of what they've been through to protect that stewardess' right to pull her power trip and throw her little hissy fit over a T-shirt. There's nothing threatening about that T-shirt. Keep on keeping on, Marine, Semper Fi. Of course, Dom is referencing a story I told you about yesterday. And if you missed it, go back and listen to yesterday's show. It's real easy, depending on how you're listening. You can listen on my podcast, Just the Truth. Just search for Joey Hudson, Just the Truth, wherever you listen to podcasts, and on the Odyssey app. Or you can go to joeyhudson.com, click on the podcast, and you can listen to any of the episodes and former shows there. While you're there, be sure and connect with me. Just click on the Connect with Joey button and join my mailing list. But this story of this stewardess, and Dom is right. This stewardess, and I don't know if it was, well, flight attendant, I guess I should say. The article did not distinguish whether it was a male or a female. But for them to get upset because of this shirt that this Marine was wearing that was highlighting the problem that we're having with service members committing suicide, and that this flight attendant felt that it was threatening. Delta hasn't said, other than that the situation has been resolved. They should fire the person. If that flight attendant could not discern any better than to know that this was okay, that this shirt was okay, it wasn't threatening anybody, whether it's a male or a female, they don't deserve to be a flight attendant. I would not want them on one of my airplanes, on one of my flights. But Delta probably just gave them a bonus and sent them back to work, unfortunately. A sad note from Israel, a young woman who survived the Hamas October 7th massacre at the Supernova Music Festival. This was in southern Israel. I've talked with you about that a number of times. I was able to interview some people who, particularly a young lady, Noah, who was at that music festival. There are some real stories of heroism from that day. This young lady, who was identified as Cheryl Golan, 22 years old, committed suicide on her 22nd birthday after a battle with post-traumatic stress disorder, according to her family. This is just another example of the lives at that October 7th attack by the Hamas terrorists, the lives that it has destroyed. Cheryl Golan's family said that she had been hospitalized twice since the massacre, and that they had continued to see her suffer and struggle, knowing what had happened and what she had seen. She was found dead in her apartment in Israel on Sunday. So prayers for this family. Again, these Hamas terrorists continuing to kill after the fact. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.